So yeah,
Okay, so welcome everybody to today's presentation. I wanted to welcome back our guest speaker, who's been here a couple of times, and we are always excited to have her and have her present because she is a wealth of knowledge. Avegaile, and I'm going to say, gosh, I'm sorry. Every time I do this, Calzado.
Calzado.
Sorry, just wanted to make sure I pronounced it right. Avegaile is the founder and CEO of Insight Communication, and she has 2 master's degrees, one in leadership and one in communications, and she has plenty of years of experience dealing with communication. So we really welcome you to this presentation and how you can help us communicate better. So thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Thank you for this opportunity to present again to Peril. So so we will have about 1 hour together, maybe shorter. And during this time, I will introduce you to a model to help you understand the stages of transition. And I will also invite you to think about how this model applies to your personal experience of change and transition, and also your experience as a business owners or as entrepreneurs. And we will do some writing and reflecting together. So if you have pen and paper handy, that's great. If you don't, I invite you to grab them so that you can follow along. And so those who attended my webinars in the past know that I tend to open my workshops and webinars with a guided meditation or a mindfulness practice. So I invite you to just settle in your chair, relax. If you want, you can turn off your camera or keep them on. I'm not going to be looking. And or you can close your eyes or lower your gaze and just settle, because you made it here. We all made it here physically this afternoon. I just want to invite you to bring your mind, heart, and spirit here as well. So we'll take about 5 minutes with this practice. So please sit comfortably in your chair. Gently lower your gaze. And just notice how you're sitting. Feel the weight of your body in the chair. Take a few deep breaths, noticing the cool air as it enters your nostrils. Noticing the warm air as it touches your upper lip. And move your attention through your whole body. Notice the bottom of your feet. Notice your toes. Notice your ankles, your legs, your calves, your shins. Notice your knees, your thighs, your hips. Notice your buttocks. Notice how you're sitting on your chair. Notice your lower back, your belly. Notice your chest, your upper back, your hands, your fingers, your wrist. Notice your forearms, your elbows. Notice your upper arms, your biceps, your triceps. Notice your shoulders. Notice your throat, your neck. Notice your face, your chin, your eyes, your nose, your forehead. Now notice the top of your head. Notice your entire body, paying attention to any sensations that may arise. If you notice tingling, tension, coldness, warmth, just notice the sensation. Name it for what it is and let it go. Notice your mind. What thoughts are arising? Where is your mind taking you right now? Are you in the past or are you in the future? Come back to the present moment. Bring your attention back to your physical body. Bring your attention to your chest area, to your heart center, and notice how you're feeling this afternoon. What emotions are you holding in your heart? And acknowledge these emotions. Just name them for what they are, then let them go. Take a few more breaths, inhaling deeply, exhaling slowly, inhaling deeply, exhaling slowly, inhaling deeply, and exhaling slowly. And when you're ready, slowly open your eyes and come back to the present moment and to the group. Yeah, welcome back. I'm just going to share my screen with you. So I invited you to notice your thoughts and connect with your body, and to notice what you're thinking about and how you're feeling this afternoon. And also to notice what you're holding in your mind and heart. So if you have a pen and paper handy, just write down your thoughts. Just write down your reflection. Maybe you write them in a sentence or two. Like you can start with, right now I'm thinking about, or right now I am feeling this. So just take a couple of minutes to do that. And if you can write a full sentence, you can just write a keyword that describes what you may be thinking about, or a keyword to describe what you're feeling at the moment. It's really important to notice our thoughts and our feelings. So you're probably wondering, like, what's Abigail up to? What is this webinar all about? So what is the point of this exercise that we're doing, and what is the point of that mindfulness practice we did earlier? So when we are dealing with change and uncertainty, it is important to notice ourselves, what we may be feeling and thinking at the moment. It is important to notice the state of our physical body, mind, and heart, and to exercise emotional intelligence. And when I mention emotional intelligence, I'm referring to our capacities for self-awareness, self-regulation, and self-care. So let's talk about change and what exactly is change. So we all know that change, or maybe we don't all know, that change is external. It can be imposed from the outside. Change is also situational. So as entrepreneurs and as owners of your own business, you may be experiencing all sorts of change. How many of you are just starting or just transitioning to being entrepreneurs or business owners? So we cannot always plan for change or influence change. Sometimes Maybe some of you have become business owners or entrepreneurs because you've lost your job or you decided to pivot in your career. So the change is the fact that the organizations that you work for no longer needs you. The transition is how you deal with that change. How can you influence that change? How can we control our individual response to the change that is happening, to the uncertainty that we're experiencing? So that's the difference between change and transition. Change is external or situational. Transition is a human component of change. It's how we deal with what is happening. It's that inner situation that we have to deal with. So when we're dealing with change, first we need to recognize what is really happening and recognize it for its true nature. Is this change or is this transition? Is this imposed on me or is this something that I invited to, is this my initiative? Is this something that I want to participate in? Is this a transition? So that's the first thing. Identify what is really happening and recognize it for what it is. And ask yourself, what do you know as facts? And what are the evidence? If the change is an organizational change, you have to change jobs. So that's a fact. I have to change job because the organization I'm working for restructured itself and no longer needs me. And the transition, my response to this change is that I'm going to pivot and become my own boss and start my own business. So think about how much of what is happening, of the things that you consider uncertain, are based primarily on your perception, interpretation, or assumptions of things. So when we examine what's really going on, we clarify our perception of the change. We clarify our perception of what is really happening. And then the uncertainty that we may be feeling becomes less uncertain because we start dealing with it. We give ourselves the opportunity to step back so that we can figure out how we can respond intelligently with a situation. So we increase our ability to manage the change and to influence the quality of how we experience the change and that situation by stepping back. The mindfulness practice that I shared with you earlier is a very simple but powerful tool to recognize what is really happening and to recognize how we respond to what is happening. And there are countless models and techniques for dealing with change. But what I really want you to retain and what I really want you to know is that dealing with change may take time. And how we experience and respond to a change will depend on many factors. For example, like our personality, our temperament, our age, our life experiences, our values, our support system, and all sorts of things. So when we deal with change, when we are dealing with change, it's important to know who we are. How do we respond to these things? It's not important to maybe you can learn something by looking at how other people respond to change, but it's also important to step back and say, how can I respond consciously, intelligently, effectively in this situation that I'm facing? Because you cannot compare, and we should not compare how others respond. It can give us a sense of perspective, but it is important for us to understand who we really are and what we stand for in times of change. So I did a mindfulness exercise earlier, the practice, because this connection, this emotional intelligence really starts with our physical body, our mind, and our heart. It's about knowing ourselves. I always say our body is the vessel that life has chosen to manifest itself. This is it. This is how we show up to the world. And this is what we can control and what we can influence. We can control whether we deal with the change or the adversity or whatever challenging situation with a smile on our face, with an open heart and open mind. We can control that. Whatever mechanics, what we need to learn to be able to do that, it's up to us. I can give you all sorts of tips, techniques, and strategies on how to do that. But it starts with you. It starts with you recognizing who you really are and what you stand for as an individual. What do you value? What do you care for? And when change comes your way, will be the best way for you to deal with it based on your own knowledge. So I'm going to introduce a model. I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with William Bridges. He's one of the experts on managing transitions. And according to William Bridges, there are 3 stages of transition that people go through when we experience change. The first stage is about ending, losing, and letting go. And the second stage is what he calls the neutral zone. And the third stage is what he calls the new beginning. So it is important to note that the way we deal with change is not a linear process that moves from step 1 to 3. We have to recognize that you can be in the neutral zone and then go back to the feeling loss and that you need to let go of things. So it's not a linear process. So let's look at each stage more closely. So the first stage of dealing with change is for us to come to terms with the fact that we are leaving the past behind. So we enter this stage the first time we encounter change. This stage is often marked with resistance, emotional upheaval, because we are being forced to let go of something that we're comfortable with. So you may experience emotions like fear, denial, sadness, frustration, or just a general sense of loss. So to be able to move through the stage of the change process, you really have to accept that something is ending. So honor the past. And part of honoring the past is not just recognizing the challenges, but also reflecting on your achievements. So I'm not at that job now. I'm now my own boss. I have my own business. I've accomplished this at that job for that organization or that organization. Great, I've achieved this, but now I'm on to the next thing. And also, if you notice that the main emotions you're experiencing is fear, just notice it and just feel it. Really feel it. I feel afraid right now. I gave up a well-paying job to follow my dreams and start my own business. Now I'm wondering if I really have the capacity to run a business. I'm afraid I will fail. So what part of your body are you holding this fear? Is it in your belly? Do you have butterflies in your stomach? Do you have tightness in your chest? Or there's tension in your neck and your throat? Just notice where you're feeling that. And name it for what it is and express it. If you have to write it, articulate it, do what you need to just acknowledge that this is what's happening. So I feel afraid right now because I don't have the support system. I really need to get my business off its feet. I need grants and funding. So also think of the positive side of the change that you're experiencing. Turn the situation on its head. What can you learn from this experience? So I have no funding. I have no grants. My runway is getting shorter and shorter. I have to bootstrap my business. But I can't afford to hire help right now. Turn the situation in its head and try to be creative. Explore. Does this mean I have competencies? It's true. I have competencies and skills that I can leverage so I can move forward with my business idea. What are these skills? What are these competencies that I can capitalize on so that I can move forward with my business idea? So if you're in this stage of your change process, it is really helpful for you to explore. So, for example, try to get as much information as you can about the change that you're dealing with. Ask questions, find out what is changing, and find out what is not changing. Also, identify what is constant. Especially if this stage is difficult for you, if you're feeling really afraid and disoriented, think about that even though this seems very chaotic, think about that not everything is really changing. There's always something constant. For example, your values, the things that really matter to you, they often stay the same. Who you are as a person stays the same. So consider what is at the root of the change. And how will this change allow you to keep what you really want? How will this change allow you to move forward so that you can evolve as a human being, as an individual, as an entrepreneur? Use this change as a catalyst for your own development. So the second stage of dealing with change is what Bridges calls the neutral zone. I am talking a lot, but you can ask questions. We'll have opportunity to ask questions later. But if you have any question for me, just let me know. Just interrupt me. So the second stage is called the neutral zone. And when you're in this zone, you may feel confused, uncertain, and impatient. You may also feel slightly depressed, anxious, or resentful. For me, 2020, COVID, the first, when they announced COVID, I was in my neutral zone. I was like, wow, okay. I gave up, I used my example, I gave up a well-paying job to start my business. And here we are in COVID. Change that obviously was imposed on me and the rest of the world. So what do I do with this? What do I do with this situation? So when you're in this stage, remember to be gentle with yourself. Recognize that it's okay to feel confused and afraid during this stage. And if you catch yourself at this stage, remind yourself that it's just temporary. This stage can be an opportunity to get creative, to reconnect with the things that really light you up. You can challenge yourself to try new ways of thinking or working. You can also use this time, this stage, to build resources and support systems. For example, find a mentor or coach, find a therapist if you need to, or reach out to people who know you and who will listen to you and can help you. At this stage as well, when I say reach out to people, don't reach out for unsolicited advice. Don't reach out. I always say to people, don't seek out help from people who will poke you. And don't seek out help from people who will poke you where you bleed. So, this is not this neutral zone. You're like, and gardening, this is like springtime, you're preparing the field. So be gentle with yourself, be patient. And really use the stage as well to empower yourself by doing the things that you can achieve. Look for quick wins. Focus on your strengths. Focus on your successes. What can you learn from your past achievements? And focus on that. Because this is the neutral zone is almost like a dark time. And when you recognize that you're here, you're feeling slightly depressed, anxious, or resentful of the change, try to catch yourself and say, this is also an opportunity for transformation, for rebirth. This is springtime. This is gardening time. I'm preparing the field. So the last stage, or the third stage of change, is called the new beginning. So this is a very exciting time. This is when you're feeling high energy, you're open to learning. It's like waking up, So if you notice you're at this stage, it may be helpful for you to connect with your vision, connect with your purpose, and really hone in on what you really want. Use the energy that you have at this moment to really catalyze the change, that the development that you want to implement, that you want to achieve. Visualize the change that you desire. And notice what you can control and how we can concretely contribute toward experiencing the change that you want to see. So link your personal goals to your long-term objectives. Visualize the change you want, come up with your vision, and then link your objectives and goals, your goals and objectives with that vision. and see how they can lead you to the change that you want to achieve. And regularly check in with yourself to notice your successes. And again, reach out to others that can help you. And equally important, this is a time to celebrate that change you've gone through. You've made it. Even though I said change is not a linear process, but it's also important to acknowledge the change that you've gone through and acknowledge how you're managing your transition. So I'm summarizing the 3 stages I presented by calling it letting go and letting come. It's from Otto Scharmer from the Presencing Institute. So letting go and letting come. So essentially, it means dealing intelligently with change. Means we have to let go of the past, including the things that are just taking up our energy but are no longer serving us. As entrepreneurs, perhaps you're the CEO like me, that you wear many hats in your organization and your company. We have to learn to let go. Let go and figure out what's the best ways to use your energy. What will be the best return on investment in the things that you're doing. So letting go of things that are no longer serving you in this process. Dealing with change is also about adopting new behaviors or ways of thinking, changing our mindset, and letting new realities and experiences emerge. So you're now a business owner, an entrepreneur. Perhaps you'll notice that maybe you're still holding on to thinking as if you're working for someone else, as if but now you're your own boss. You have to think things differently. You have to respond differently. So notice certain behaviors and mindsets that you're still holding on to that may be preventing you from allowing things, new realities, new experiences to emerge. So now I just want to invite you to think about the change you are dealing with, whether it's personal or something related to being an entrepreneur. What stage of the change process are you in? Are you in the initial stage? Are you just encountering the change? What do you need to let go of? Or are you in the neutral zone? For example, are you feeling confused, uncertain, impatient, maybe even slightly depressed or anxious? Or are you in the new beginning? Are you ready to pivot? Are you ready to move towards something more meaningful to you or something more exciting? So just please take a couple of minutes to write down your reflection. Really think about the change you're dealing with right now. And think about what stage of the change process you are in. And if you have any question while you're writing down your reflection, just let me know. Otherwise, take just a minute or two to write down your reflections. Yeah, so we can take a few minutes to reflect and discuss together about how we deal with change and uncertainty. So I invited you to think about the change that you're going through. To think about what type of change you're currently experiencing. And think about whether you've encountered a similar situation in the past. Is this change familiar? Just different characters, same drama, but same characters. So just think about whatever change you may be going through and think about whether you've encountered this type of situation in the past. Just invite you to just finish your thoughts. Now I want to invite you to reflect on your knowledge, skills, and strengths. What are your superpowers? What are you good at? And how can you apply your knowledge, skills, and strengths to your current situation, to the change that you're experiencing at the moment? So I'll just let you finish your thoughts, and yeah, we'll just use this time to exchange ideas and share our learnings. Um, since we're a small group, we're not going to go into our breakout session. So maybe we can just use this time to exchange our learnings and insight about change and transition that you think may be helpful. And how do you usually respond to uncertainty? And maybe you want to share what support system and resources you've used and what has worked for you. And yeah, if feel free to just turn on your mic or use the chat.
Well, I don't know. Sometimes I guess stress, I guess a bit, sometimes uncertainty, nervous energy, I guess, sort of, you know what I mean? And support systems or resources. I guess family, right? And I don't know, depending on what it is, you know, doing some research on the topic or something like that helps.
Yeah. Yeah, the support system is really, really important. I think when we're going through change, sometimes it could feel lonely, and we feel like we're the only one experiencing that kind of situation. So reaching out and looking for the support systems, I always say it's the most intelligent thing we can do, because it can also be overwhelming when we're going through change. And I'm just wondering, for entrepreneurs, for women starting their business, there's a lot of change, there's a lot of moving pieces, um, that needs to be managed, and it's important to recognize what we can control and influence, when we're encountering those situation. Yeah, I'm wondering, what advice would you give to someone who's just who's going through change. You mentioned doing your research, reaching out, but if you have to give advice to someone going through a change, some kind of navigating change in general, what would be interesting for them?
So what I would give advice, or what advice would I
Yeah.
give? Or
What advice would you give? And if you think of, I guess I'll reframe the questions, because many of us have faced all sorts of challenges and difficulties. And the fact we're still here today, that means we overcame all these challenges and difficulties, or we might still be going through them. I'm just curious how people manage. How do you manage, or how do you navigate change? And how do you overcome the emotions or the challenges along that come with the change? If there's anything like an offering you can give, any of you can give to someone who's going through change, what would it be? In addition
Mm,
to what I mentioned already.
yeah, I don't know. I guess. Hmm, maybe, I don't know if this is right, but talking to people, right? And doing the research, and then maybe well, I know it's easy to say, to look things positively, you know what I mean, in a sense,
Mhm.
right? That maybe things, as the old cliche says, happen, right? But I don't know, I think just having that support system and talking with people through, whatever's going on, and seeing how, whether you can help them, or finding other resources to help, with whatever's happening, that, if it can be something that, other resources will be able to help with. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. Yeah, thanks for sharing. I- I'm just going to go over some of the tips that I already shared about dealing with change and uncertainty. And maybe some people I know, in my workshop, some people are disappointed that I don't give prescriptions. It's like, oh, I thought we're supposed to learn step 1, 2, 3, 4 and how to manage with change and uncertainty. I always say that that's why I do the mindfulness practice in the beginning, because we can receive so much information, but it's always going to be up to us, and how do we integrate the information that we receive, and how we apply them in our lives and in our own experiences. Um, but for the sake of being slightly prescriptive, I'm going to recap some of the tips that I showed earlier, for each stage of the change process. So I talked about honoring the past and letting go, gathering information about the change, like Lori, you mentioned, yeah, just doing some research, like what's really going on. This is the change, but what's really going on? And identify what is constant. Yes, this is the change that I'm experiencing right now, but there's something within this change that's not changing. So what is that? And also consider the root of change, and try new ways of thinking or working. Build your resources and support systems. Recognize your strengths and past successes. Look for quick wins. Visualize the change you desire. And notice what you can control and influence. Reach out to your network and support systems. And most importantly, celebrate your efforts. You made it. Or even if you didn't make it, you are making it. You're working towards this. You're managing. You're doing what you can to manage this situation or to navigate the change that you're experiencing. So before I close and before I let you go, unless anyone has any questions, I would like to take a moment to introduce a framework I developed. It's called Heart Practice. 5 steps for becoming an authentic woman leader. And the reason I'm sharing this framework, and I think I've shared this with you in the past, but I'm sharing this with you again because I think it's also applicable to dealing with change and uncertainty. So HEART is an acronym for the essential steps for promoting and expressing our well-being. So H is honor your values and vision. E, embrace your goals and priorities. A, attend to your needs, wants, thoughts, and feelings. R, reach out to others. T, take care of yourself. So if you want more information about the HEART practice, feel free to send me an email, book a virtual chat with me. We can discuss further. I can elaborate on each step of the framework. I'll be happy to do that with you. Yeah, unless there are any questions, I will leave you with my coordinates, and there's also a link to a feedback form. If you, I will be happy to hear what you think about the webinar this afternoon. So thank you, Lori, for facilitating this, for making this happen. And
well, I'm going to say thank you so much for all of your information. I wasn't able to sit in on the other ones, but I've heard such great feedback from them. So, and same thing with this one. I mean, it gets you thinking about different things, and we really appreciate you coming and speaking to us today and the past. And we look forward to having you join us again sometime soon in the future. So thank you so much for this. Really appreciate it. And if you have any questions or concerns and want to talk to Avegaile, please reach out. Her website is there and her email is there. So thank you so much again.
Thank you, Lori. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks everyone for joining us. Thank you.